with me here today Dr. Najib Noorashid, who recently finished his PhD in Applied Linguistics at Universiti Brunei Darussalam.
Yes,
and I have here with me his wonderful, impressive, and stunningly super quality, thesis.
Thank you very much for that compliment.
Yes, I'm sure that we will chat about this in a little while.
Yes.
Yeah, but for now, let me briefly introduce you, to those who, I'm sure that a lot of people know you already, but just in case, right? So Najib is a very active member of the International and Comparative Education Research Group at UBD. And since I joined UBD in 2018, you have been a wonderful colleague and always there, very supportive and participate in a lot of activities that other colleagues and I have initiated. And you have never been, hesitant in joining hands with us, and also you have always been generous in making contribution to ideas, scholarly discussions, as well as research projects. So I just want to thank you for that first. It's rarely, it's not actually, it feels informal to say thank you to someone, but today I just like to do it, publicly, so people know how much others, and me in particular, appreciate you and all your contribution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here today. That's a very, great compliments coming from somebody established like you are, because I remember we met back in
2017, right?
2017, I think.
When I came,
yes, when you gave a lecture, an invited lecture at SHIBIE.
Yes.
And thank you very much for giving some sort of very big inspiration for me to actually embark on many research activities as well. You're an inspiration for me. You pave a lot of ways for junior academics as I am. So I have to say thank you. And I acknowledge you in my thesis as well.
Yes.
So
I'm very honored. Yes.
I'm very honored to be able to work with you continuously in many endeavors now, many research activities, and I hope to continue to do so.
Yes, of course. I can't wait, right? Yes.
Thank you very much.
And Najib, I learned more and more that you have a wealth of diverse experience, both with the industry and university, right? So, and I learned today that, of course, and I knew that you used to work as a reporter for a few years, but I learned more today that you started working as a reporter, a journalist, even before you joined, you did your bachelor degree.
Yes.
So could you share with us some of those fascinating experiences?
Yes, I worked in media, I think in national media, national broadcasting media, Radio Television Brunei, the government sector. So that was just a part-time job for me, but fresh out of my A-level, I wanted to kind of experience things because I always see myself as a student of life, and I always continuously learning. So I wanted to join journalism at that time. I was hired as a part-time reporter for both Malay and English news, local news. So I worked at this Radio Television Brunei in Kuala Belait, where I come from, the district of Kuala Belait. So every day is a new day for me at that time, and I enjoyed meeting people. I used to be a very taciturn person, a very introvert, you might say. So I didn't like to socialize a lot when growing up. But then that experience opened my eyes and to meet and to socialize and to learn more from people. And that's why I started to enjoy sociolinguistics as well. It's about communication in society. So it's about language use in society. So I'm doing things that I enjoy and I don't need a vacation out of it. So I'm doing things that I like and passionate about.
That's wonderful, because
Yes.
you say that you don't need a vacation from your PhD. Wow, it's such a, I don't know, such a meaningful statement, right? But also, it's so nice to hear someone appreciating and enjoying the PhD experience that much, but also so genuinely and so happily, right? And so really, as you said, you know, a lot of life experience and your exposure to both Malay and English, and I'm sure that probably other languages in Brunei would or had already kind of inspired you to want to understand more about sociolinguistics, about language use, and probably, you know, language context and contact, right? As well as, you know, cultural and linguistic and socio-political, factors that inform how someone uses language, but also inform how a certain language policy could be conceptualized.
Yes. You actually summarized my thesis. My
Oh,
PhD thesis.
no.
So yes.
So maybe could you, I know that for your PhD thesis, you look at Malay language use in 3 national contexts.
Actually 4.
4,
yes.
Wow.
With Singapore.
Singapore as well. So Brunei,
Malaysia,
Indonesia,
and Singapore.
And Singapore.
Which is known as the Malay world. So yes, that's what I did for my PhD thesis.
Yeah.
So
could you tell us more about that? Yes.
All right. First of all, I think as an academic, I think you yourself is aware that the fact that language contact has become some sort of an issue in academic. So the debate about Malay versus English has always been there for a very long time. I think for as long as I can remember. So when I started my bachelor degree, my bachelor degree was in Malay linguistics. So I can say that I used to be them who believed that English endanger Malay or other languages because of the status, because of the globalization of English, because of the power,
hegemony,
the hegemony of English itself all over the world. So I used to be one of them who believed in that, because I was, I must say, I was plastered with all these Malay narratives that say English has bad impact to Malay, something like that. But then I had the opportunity to pursue my master's studies at the University of Essex in the United Kingdom. That's when I met Peter Churchill, one of the earliest fathers of sociolinguistics. So sociolinguistics is not all about language, not all about language use. It's about language and language use in society. So the theory behind sociolinguistics is not just looking at a language situation as a system, but also as part of the society itself. So when I met him, and I had the chance to actually sit and talk to him about the situation in the Malay world, and I said it has been there for a very long time. And what seems to be wrong about it, what seems to be the idea behind it. And he was fascinated with that issues. And he said to me, this is interesting. This is something that you might want to study. And perhaps maybe it's the truth, or maybe there's something vested interest behind it. Right. So pursue it for your PhD. That's I think a starting point of me developing ideas for my PhD. Even before I completed my master, I actually had
already planned ahead, right?
proposal for my PhD. So that's when I dig deeper, and I read more about the situations here. And then that's when I met James McLellan, my supervisor, associate professor, Dr. James McLellan, and I developed a proposal, and that's when I started my PhD. So what I found in previous literature and scholarship, most of this scholarship would look at the situation as a system instead of language in a society, instead of looking at the rationale behind people choosing one language over another, or two languages over another, based on audiences and contexts and motivations. They would just look at the language itself is not being used.
Right.
So you cannot, for me, as a sociolinguist myself, I wouldn't look at that because that's not really logical in real life, right?
No,
for instance,
exactly.
if I were to go to the UK where people don't understand Malay, I would opt for English.
Yes, of course,
that's
right?
the rationale behind it. So that's what I wanted to study for my PhD. And I also realized that most scholarship, even written by big names or prominent experts, are mostly done in a very black or white argument. So what I wanted to do for my study, I didn't want to follow that tradition because it's PhD. You can't develop something new when you follow people's tradition.
Right.
You need to kind of produce something new. That's the novelty behind PhD. I was taught about that.
You break new grounds.
Yes, I was taught about that. And that has become some sort of a principle for me in doing research. So I was trying to find the gray zone behind it. How Malay and English could complement one another without negatively affecting identities or national aspirations and all those sort of things. So that's why I embarked on this PhD, and that's what I found in my PhD thesis as well. And I found that English and Brunei, especially in a harmonious bilingual settings here in Brunei, it's complementary to one another because we are exposed to bilingualism quite early.
And quite naturally, right?
Yes, quite naturally.
Yes.
In comparison to other Malay countries, which have been imposed to them to use Malay and then English.
The either or.
Yes,
sort of
and
mindset.
sometimes these other Malay countries would flip-flopping their language policy from time to time and making it difficult to the people to follow.
Like Malaysia.
Yes, like Malaysia. Yes, that's in my thesis as well.
Yes.
And that's what I found. It's very harmonious here. And people can use standard Malay if they want to, especially during professional setting or formal events, and then they can use Brunei Malay to show solidarity among people here, and then they can use English when they feel like to, especially when they are doing, English has some sort of instrumental values to people of Brunei for works and for study, so that's what I found,
Yes.
And of course there are many things that I can talk to you about in this thesis, but it would need more than a day for us to sit down.
I know.
But yes.
Yes, and actually you made a really, really powerful point that I really like to ask you more about. You talk about, that your thesis actually proved that there is a myth about English over dominating Malay and negatively affect Malay language use as well as a sense of identity among Malay language speakers, right? And so, but with your very extensive data collection, which is, I must say, very laborious, data collection process and a lot of analysis, multi-layer analysis of your data, you prove that, that myth needs to be revealed, needs to be told, and needs to be communicated more widely.
Yes.
And so actually now I'm curious, of course, as you said, so many established scholars out there have already, determined, kind of, that of course English is bad. English already,
Yes.
Yes. has taken over the world,
Yes.
right? And now actually you prove them, yes, wrong. To some extent.
To some extent.
Right,
yes.
okay. And so were you so-called nervous at all when your thesis was sent out to external examiners? And were you nervous at how that particular argument might be received?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was actually, because when I started this PhD, I had a chance to actually meet Professor Adam Jaworski when he came here to give a talk as an eminent visiting professor. And I talked to him about this and sit down. I must say I'm quite lucky to have been able to sit down with a lot of prominent people in linguistics and in education, as you are. I talked to you about it as well. And when I talked to him about this, and he said, you are clever in a way that you're doing how traditionally PhD student would do, try to prove something is wrong in established fields already. So I said, like, oh, am I going to be criticized, about it, because I'm somebody who is nobody in this field. So would they condemn me? Or would they
challenge
believe?
me
Yes.
a lot? Yes.
So I had that was during the preliminary development of this PhD thesis, and he said to me, it's like, this is going to be a do or die for you, right? If you can prove to them that it is reliable research, then I don't think there's something that you should be afraid of. So that was, I think, that was some sort of a catalyst for me to become more confident about my work, and that's why I work closely with my supervisor to develop the very best version of this topic and these issues and this thesis. And when I went to meet experts as well, because my PhD thesis also incorporated both language users and scholars, prominent scholars in the Malay world.
Yes.
Interestingly, all those established scholars who once said that English is negatively affecting Malay, when I progressively presented to them, this is what I found, this is what my arguments are, they kind of agree with me.
Wow.
Yes, you can read that in my thesis.
Yeah.
So
but listening to you talk about that is great.
That is some sort of a validation for me to find that, okay, this is right then, this is happening. So sometimes they agreed. Sometimes these scholars might be influenced with political movement, that it is no longer academic. It is politically influenced work. So would you agree to that as an academic? So it is something that is questionable.
Yeah.
So what I did was totally academic, because I don't feel like, of course there's political things going on here and there, but then I wanted to produce as academic as it could. I argued it and I debated it as academic as it can be. So yes, I was worried, but throughout that I developed some sort of maturity and confidence in my work. And I'm very confident. Yes, I'm confident of now that I'm saying that I'm dissecting these into research articles and perhaps books in the future for the public to read.
Yes, I think definitely I could see, at least a whole book and several other journal articles and book chapters, being developed out of your thesis. Yes, and so now that you got me more and more, curious about the journey. So I know that you spoke to several well-established scholars in, Malay linguistics, and And even though they, as you say, they appear to agree with you and your findings, but can you recall any incident or experience or encounter in which that actually also made you hesitant a little bit or doubt a little bit about what you were trying to prove?
Yes, I did. I think it's part of doing PhD. You doubt yourself. But it's all about trying to, as I said earlier, trying to find a maturity in you as a researcher. So yes, I experienced that, especially when I started writing the discussion, because the findings are there, and the discussion now, it was time for the discussion, and you're trying to prove something that is against the current, which you say, yes.
It's so dominant current, I know.
Yes, and at that time I had a very great supervisor that accompanied me along the way. He said to me, just be careful, because you have been exposed with all these scholarly works that you believe in, because I adore these scholars, regardless of their opinions about Malay versus English. I adore each one of them, and I must say I'm proud to put them in my thesis as well. So I had that feeling, the feeling of anxiety, I would say, writer's anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah, we have that.
Yes.
But I just had to. That's how I just had to believe in myself, and always try to adhere to the findings. Let's the finding talk about the research.
Speak for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not me trying to manipulate my findings, but all I have to do is to report back the findings and support them with reliable scholarships out there. That's what I did. Yes.
Wow, and you did an amazing job, a stunning job, right? Well done.
Thank you very much. I was trying to.
No, but talking about anxiety, right?
Yes.
I think I like to pick up that term because one of the research projects that you have developed with our colleagues at the International Comparative Education Research Group relates to language, international students, language learning and anxiety.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. Foreign language anxiety. Yes.
Yes. So how is it going? So you and your colleagues, I'm sure that you are probably planning to proceed with that idea.
Yes. First, thank you very much for our director of ICE here for inviting me over to be part of the core members of International and Comparative Education Institution. So as part of one of the research groups, I worked closely at that time with lecturers from Language Center and SOASIS. And
like Azmi.
Yes, Azmi Muhammad. And we worked together on foreign language anxiety in Brunei, and especially actually situated here in UBD. So we were trying to look at how, especially when you're not the native speakers of English, you would maybe develop some sort of anxiety to use English in your English classroom. So that's what we wanted to study. And it is still in a developing stage because we have to go through bureaucracy to maneuver things around. But we had the chance to present our research proposal at Jerudong International School, actually, where we were invited with Mrs. Yvette for I think her psychology classroom. Yes. Because foreign language anxiety, it is part of psychological aspects of learning language. So we had the pleasure to present our research proposal, and the students were very interested in that. And I had the chance to actually ask them whether they had that, providing the fact that they're in multicultural classroom, in English classroom. And it's interesting to find even when the language anxieties also come from those who are English native speakers. So that's very interesting to look at, right?
Yeah.
Not just those who are not native speakers, but
learn English as an additional language.
And and the fact that JIS is very established for
international school,
for becoming quite an established international school in Brunei.
Yeah.
So
and I think there's in the region, probably the largest in the region.
Yes. So to find that in that classroom, we were just asking around. So it's interesting. So I mean, that is something that we are planning to develop, maybe from the university level up to school level in Brunei, because I think it would give some sort of potential contributions to stakeholders, educational stakeholders especially.
Right.
So,
so actually, maybe just to remind Liam here, in case you wonder, right? So Najib and his group members gave a presentation in our weekly seminars at the International and Comparative Education series. And in the audience, there was a teacher from the Jerudong International School here in Brunei. And then the teacher was really impressed and fascinated by the talk, by the presentation. And after that, she approached me asking whether or not I could introduce her to you guys so that she could invite, the group to her school and particularly, to sit with her own student in a psychology class that she taught. I think those days. I think sometime last year, right? Yes. And so I said, of course, that is what we would love to.
Yes.
And of course, our researchers here are always willing. Yeah, so that is how it started.
Yes.
And actually, I knew that you and Dr. Asmi Mohammed went there. Yeah, and then I saw a great photo, taken of you both.
Yes.
And then also now that having the chance to hear what or how the students responded, and also, as you say, a very kind of diverse experiences with anxiety or language learning anxiety from students, coming from different backgrounds.
Could you give examples of what you're talking about that you learned over there of the types of anxiety by different peoples?
All right. I think when it comes to anxiety, there are many multi-layers, you would say it.
Yeah.
For instance, when they don't want to speak out during lessons because they feel like they're not good enough in terms of language. And another thing is when they feel like they're going to make constant mistakes when they shouldn't have to feel that way. So that is some things that I found among them. And some of them would say, because I'm surrounded by these people these students who are very good at English, but I don't feel like I'm on par with them, so I don't feel like I'm good enough. So those kind of anxiety exists, yes.
But what was the anxiety by the native speakers of English?
Similar to that, yes, because they feel like they're not good enough, yes.
Yeah, probably in terms of content knowledge or something
probably,
like that.
Yes.
Could be a combination.
Yes, because we cannot just look at anxiety as a mean of anxiety. There must be reasons to them. There must be aspects that contribute to them feeling that anxious. Yes.
Exactly, yeah. So it's really interesting that you actually were able to see how students come, as you said, it is a multicultural classroom, students coming from different countries and they speak different languages. And then, of course, even for those students coming from the UK, I'm sure that a lot of them coming from the UK, for them to talk about having language anxiety is really probably something that people don't hear a lot.
Yes.
And then so even I think I really like to congratulate you and Asmi for being able to, inspire, but also to stimulate that kind of discussion and sharing among students.
Yes. We are thankful for your opportunity as well, for the opportunity, and for Miss Yvette as well from JIS, to invite us there to talk about it. Because from our stimulating discussion, we also acquire something from that, from the students when they presented their own cases. So we kind of take them into consideration for our final proposal. So that is something that we developing still and continue to do.
Right.
Yes.
And I think I've said this to Liam many times that I would love to foster closer community engagement activities, and one such activity could be, the research that we are doing and schools here in Brunei, and how our work could speak more relevantly and more inspiringly to students and teachers and schools' everyday experience. So yes, I must say that the kind of work that you and your group members are doing definitely, is not just relevant, but is really meaningful. So I hope that we will continue to, to pursue that and to deepen the connection that we have already established with schools in Brunei.
Yes,
and I'm sure that I count on you a lot for that. So get ready. Yes, right. And also now that since the beginning of the year, I'm aware that you also had the chance to work as a language instructor at another university here in Brunei. And then we remember, I remember talking with you and about, the COVID-19 and how COVID-19 actually presented a lot of challenges, but also ideas for teaching novelty or teaching, improvement, among language teachers. So, and of course, I'm aware of the fact that teaching language online is not an easy thing. Particularly, someone fascinated about sociolinguistics like yourself, you need a lot of on-the-ground interaction. You need to feel the environment, to see how students respond. You need to see the eye contact and lots of things in able to respond, right? So maybe could you share with us how that COVID-19
affecting the pedagogy itself? Yes, I think it was back. I started the adjunct professor of English for Language Center at Seri, Begawan, Religous University College when I was invited. So in the middle of the academic term, COVID-19 happened. So I experienced that firsthand when I had to kind of recalibrate everything and mule over my teaching, my pedagogy, my pedagogical approach as well. So at that time, there wasn't normal lectures anymore. We had to opt for online lectures, remote learning. So yes, as you said earlier, it was kind of like abrupt for us, and I had to deal with the students' motivation because you don't want them to feel unmotivated because moreover it's not a scientific subject. I would say it would be more like social science to study English and to study communication skills. So what I did was to mull over the platform that I used to teach them. So I had to think about the financial aspects of the students, whether using one platform would be much expensive in terms of data used, and how am I going to keep on track with their motivation, with the communication, as well as how I'm going to ensure that my content are delivered perfectly as I wanted. Of course, when it comes to adjusting from normal teaching to remote learning, you can't have it all. Let's just be honest about that. But you can minimize limitations if you think about it at the very beginning. So that's what I did, because at that time it happened during the mid-semester break of this intake. So during that 5 days, I had to do a quick survey with the students. How am I going to do this? Which one is more comfortable for you to do it? This or that. So, and I came to the conclusion to use the most sought after platform that I think still is Zoom learning. So I use that, but I only use that for tutorial because to some extent, Zoom also consumes lots of data, so it's more expensive for the students. So I have to think about the socio-economic of my students as well. And I incorporated a Google Classroom for lecture, so I can interact with them through that. So all of those sort of things. But as you said earlier, COVID-19 also gives opportunity for us to think about research as well as, because we had a conversation before.
Right.
It's not all bad. Of course, it is just a devastating event all over the world these days, and we're lucky that in Brunei it has been contained much in comparison to other countries. And it gives us more opportunity to learn about how we would adjust our pedagogical aspects, especially in higher education institutions. So your article in University World News, I think, yes, University World News, is one of the earliest articles that talk scholarly about the educational experiences here in UBD.
Yes, and co-written with Adil Iqbal.
Yes. I read that.
Thank you.
I think it's amazing. And it gives some sort of ideas of what to do and what to mull over in the situation of higher education institution in Brunei, and specifically in UBD. And especially when it is the most sought after issue these days, how COVID-19 affects many fields, not just in medical, but also psychological, and education as well. So
definitely.
it is something that we are looking into right now, and
like the sociology of COVID-19.
Yes. And many platforms such as academia or ResearchGate, you can see a plethora of that. Even during a very short time only, but it has been a plethora of studies about that. So I think we at ICE as well shouldn't be missing that out.
Right, exactly.
We need to get on board with that, because I think here COVID-19 affecting here in Brunei, and especially in UBD, we have a lot to offer in the sense of sharing knowledge with other institutions out there.
Yes. Yeah, and I am aware that you have already developed a very well thought out research proposal.
Thank you very much.
Aiming to examine the impacts of COVID-19 on the teaching and learning of higher education in Brunei, right? And also, of course, focusing on a wide range of student communities, both the local student, international students, as well as academics, coming from different backgrounds and teaching in different disciplines, and how the COVID-19 actually impacts, inform, as well as probably offer ideas for research and teaching. But so I can't agree with you more that as a research group, international and comparative education, we are joining hands with researchers in all other disciplines to contribute, or to make some scholarly and pedagogical contribution, hopefully to offer and to inform our existing knowledge, as well as to inform our own work and practices. And I know that you've already work on that project.
Yes, and I've showed to you.
Yes, so definitely. So we will definitely, probably maybe next week or so, we will jump on board with that, and and carry it out. I'm all inspired by ICE institution to work on this. So we can join hands, and the fact that I continuously reading about this over the internet, and who knows that we might come up with
a theoretical framework for this,
Yes,
only
yes.
because the International Association of Universities, I think the global institution itself is trying to find the better approach of studying the impact of COVID-19. Who knows that we might offer them a reliable research and papers and articles. Yes.
Yes, and you are so, as you mentioned earlier, about sociolinguistics and also language use. We must, of course, we know that every context is different, every situation or even every higher education setting has its own culture, its own unique, ways of doing and behaving and responding, right, even to COVID-19. Yes. And so with your already developed proposal on that topic, I could see, a lot of probably unique dimension as well as dimensions that are highly relevant to other contexts. And even, with regards to the Malay-speaking world, I don't know, I'm always fascinated to want to know more about how, like Malaysia, Indonesia, and maybe some part of Singapore might think about, I don't know, like think about COVID-19 from a sociolinguistic perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm just kind of, having some thought right now, so it may not make a lot of sense, but I thought, as you said, I'm trying to think linguistic, because one of the great things about ICE is that it's this interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary.
Yes.
So our members come from a wide range of scholarly and disciplinary backgrounds across universities and internationally. So we always learn from each other. And now that, with your wealth of knowledge in sociolinguistics, with the outside world, with community engagement, with media, we could all bring, those aspects together, for your research. So it's not just, an educational matter, right? Yes, it's much more than that,
When it comes to sociolinguistics, a lot of things that you can incorporate in. Psychological factors, it is one thing. It's one thing that we could think of. And perhaps the planning, the policy of the country itself would be affected by the COVID-19. Who knows? So it is something that sociolinguistics can be incorporated in this kind of study.
Yes.
So it's something that we can develop from time to time.
Exactly. Yes. I don't know, and also I know that right now you are working on several publication projects, of course, out of your thesis, but also on other, topics as well, because you have been involved in different research projects, and you yourself have also initiated your own research projects, which I admire very much.
Thank you
and
very much.
And probably maybe
I'm trying to be you.
No. You already way ahead. And so, that I am really glad that you and I actually had a chance to work together on a book chapter. On Global Asia, right? Sociolinguistics for Global Asia. So I must say that it's such a joy to have you as a writing partner.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and then the topic that we are working on, I think is much looked for, as acknowledged by the editor of the book, Jerudong Lee, right, from the US. And of course, it is not often that scholars come across scholarship published out of the Borneo region. And so even though, the Borneo Island is the largest in Asia and the third largest in the world, but it's still like, a very little known area. Even in our scholarly world. So I really hope that our work will gradually make, contribution and introduce, what is happening in our region to to an international audience, and through projects like, language and policies and things like that.
What is the work?
Yes, so I mean, so the work that I'm going to invite Najib to talk more about that is language policy.
Yeah, it's about scrutinizing language policy and planning in Brunei by utilizing the Sociolinguistics of Globalization framework by Blommaert.
Yes.
I'm very familiar with Blommaert's works. I actually cited them in my thesis as well.
Yeah.
So what we are looking at how language policy and planning in Brunei would create some sort of benefits to the people, or maybe create problem to some extent, or maybe both. So we don't know about that. So that is what we are currently writing. So we're incorporating local and international scholarship that will be relevant for this paper, and we're expecting a very good thing coming together.
Definitely.
For this book chapter. Yes.
Yeah, so it's, so the concept of the sociolinguistics, like global Asia, sociolinguistics of global Asia, and focusing on language policy and language use in the global Asia region, right? Which is very, kind of always crossing.
Yes, and we're looking at it not just as a language use or language policy per se, but by incorporating the people who are relevant stakeholders to it. So it is going to be meaningful for people as well.
Right. Yes. So we hope, to nail that paper very soon.
Yes.
So you can see that we're working hard, right?
I thought it was already done. That's why I asked.
It's a work in progress.
Work in progress. We still have a few more months, on that. But I think we're ahead of the plan.
Yes.
Yes. And do you have any questions for me? No, don't ask me. I'm joking. I just said, we will probably resume our seminar series probably in August. So would you be so kind enough to be the one who kickstart the new semester seminar series?
You're putting me on the spotlight right now. Yes, I would love to. I think it's a great opportunity for me to put out what I've done for my research thesis, and it is an honor for me to be the one who kickstarts the seminar. And yes,
we look forward to it very much. And I know you have several projects in line, so you can pick and choose which one you love to present for the seminar series. So stay tuned. And I think it's just so wonderful and so it's just so delightful to talk to you. And now I remember, some colleagues told me, whenever Najib shows up or walk into a room, he brings energy. He makes people happy.
I would love to know who this person is.
I'll tell you. But definitely, So it's a compliment. So I just wanted to let you know that. But of course, no pressure.
The feeling is mutual.
And
this is going to be an exchange of compliments, right? but
never end.
But that's because I adore her so much.
No. And I dressed up today for you.
I dress up for you as well, and for Liam. So yes.
Thank you.
And we're
so
all
much.
matched up.
Yes. Different,
It's different shades of blue.
Yes.
But
wow. And by the way.
But yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.